You know what I've learned in my 35 years of doing hair? I have learned that the hair, this stuff right here, it never lies. Now these your ears, your ability to hear can lie, but this right here, it never lies. The same way you can tell when the hair is not in alignment, when things not lining up, you cut the hair, you attempt to do the style, but it's just not falling into place. Well, it's the same way with hairstylists, with us as hairstylists. You can tell when someone's alignment is off. And you can also tell when it's in alignment, when that person is in alignment. It's the way your stylist, you as a stylist talk. It's the way that you walk. It's the way that you present yourself. It's in your consultation. It's in your energy. It's everywhere. And you can also tell, you know when it's not, and your clients do as well. Welcome to the episode, the series Hair, Hair, my side. I'm Angela. I build the gap between stylist and client, one real conversation at a time. And sometimes, like today, this message is for stylists themselves, okay? Sometimes you think like, oh, I am just burned out. Have you considered that it has nothing to do with being burnt out? That it has everything to do with you being in misalignment. And it's that sometimes it's like a tug, it's like a tug where that still small voice tells you something is just not right. Something is off. I got to take a day off. I got to go on a vacation. Well, this type of feeling, a day off or a vacation, it can't even fix. It's so much more than that. It is so much deeper in that, especially when you get to the point where you tell yourself, I just don't feel like myself. Have you heard that in your head space? And be honest with me, if you've heard, I just don't feel like myself, I want you to put yes, that's me in the comment, because in this episode we are going to talk about that because it's something that needs to be talked about. Okay, so we are going to dive into today, we're going to dive into what it's like when you are out of alignment, especially from behind your chair. And the goal is to bring you back to that place where you feel at home behind your styling chair. So the thing I want to first begin with is the mirror. You know how when we're done servicing our client and we give them that mirror, but we know within our heart of hearts that that hair just isn't right, especially in the back. So we avoid giving them the mirror. We just say, oh girl, thank you so much. You slam in the day. You know what I mean? Yes, that's what I want to talk about. Because I can remember a time when my book was full, my salon was thriving, the whole nine, but inside, I was tired. I was tired, and there were times there I didn't even want to look at myself in the mirror. You know what I mean? I didn't even want to look at my own self in the mirror because the mirror would tell me the truth. I recognize that the mirror is not going to lie. It's going to tell me the truth about what I am feeling, where I am mentally, emotionally, the whole nine. And when you are not in alignment, everything is heavy from behind your chair. The conversation is heavy. Every service that you do feels more transactional than actually serving your clients. And then you come to realize it's like you wake up one day and you feel like you are out of love with doing hair. You are out of love with doing hair. That is when you are out of alignment. That's a clue that you are out of alignment with yourself. It has nothing to do with the salon. It has nothing to do with your clients. It has everything to do with you as a stylist being out of alignment with yourself. So I think sometimes we as stylists, we forget. I did an episode once on this, that we do more than just hair. I'll put the link to that episode. But here's the thing. We forget that we are more than just stylists. You know, we are empath. We feel everything coming from our clients. We are creatives. We are healers. That's how our clients see us. And we give so much of ourselves that if we're not in alignment, then we end up hurting ourselves because we begin to give from an empty cup instead of a full cup. And so I want you to think about this for a second. I want you to think about, what does alignment means for you? What does it look like for you? Okay? Alignment for me has everything to do with what I think, what I feel, and what I do when all of those things are moving in one direction. So give us some thought. What does alignment feel like for you? And if you're not sure, then dig in, listen up to what I'm talking about here. Alignment is when your actions reflect your truth outside of the salon, not from behind your styling chair, but just going through life, in life. It's when your actions reflect your truth. Not somebody else's version of your truth, not someone else's version of success, not someone else's version of what living life to the highest looks and feels like, but yours. So times we have to really think about, what do I view? What constitutes success for me? What constitutes being fed emotionally, spiritually for me? And these are real questions that we have to ask ourselves. It's like when your actions reflect your truth, your work feels like worship. You know what I mean? Your work feels like, yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm so thrilled to be here. What's next? You become more creative. You become creative. When you're aligned, your chair, listen to this. When you're aligned, your chair feels like home. It feels like a sanctuary. It feels like you feel like, this is where I belong. This is where I show up the best, instead of your chair feeling like a cage. If you've ever felt like your chair feels like a cage to you, I can promise you that spills into your clients. They feel it too. They feel it too. That's why I always tell stylists, alignment is the new hustle. I want to encourage you not to hustle and bustle, not to grind from behind your styling chair. It should feel in alignment. Alignment is the new hustle. Say that with me. Write it in the comment. Alignment is my new hustle. You can work, listen to me, y'all. You can work 12 hours a day and you could be banking, pulling in that money, everybody running you your money. But let me tell you something. If you're not in alignment, you still feel empty when you close your salon. You still feel like it wasn't enough. You didn't bring in enough revenue. And that is because you are out of alignment. So I want to talk about what I call the 5 dimensions of alignment. My daughter at Esprit Ori, the homebody, she has a concept in which she talks about the 5 channels of awareness. It's heavy. I'll put the link in the description. But I'm going to talk about the 5 dimensions of alignment. So grab paper and pen and let's jot some things down. I want to give you just a few things to think about, things that I have used that have worked for me. Okay? And these 5 areas of alignment matters in your life, but it also matters from behind your styling chair. The first one is internal alignment. And internal alignment is in the root word itself, the root of the word itself, internal. Internal alignment is when your body, your mind, and your spirit, y'all, all agree. Who's there? You know, sometimes I'm in, sometimes I'm out, but internal alignment has to do with your body, your mind, and your spirit all agreeing. Can you imagine that feeling? So if you're dreading every appointment that you have on your books, your intuition is talking to you and you need to listen. I want to encourage you to listen to that. The second is your moral alignment. Your moral alignment is when you honor your values. So my question to you is, do you even know what your values are? Do you have areas where you draw the line in the sand? After 35 years of caring, and I mean seriously caring for my clients' hair, I now offer online hair regimen consultations. And guess what? It's designed specifically for you. And what do you get? Well, you get all of your questions answered. You also get product recommendations, and you get to walk away with a custom blueprint designed specifically for you. You end up with the confidence that you need to care for your hair on the level of a pro. So, don't guess about your hair. Get clarity. Click the link in the description and book your session. Now, let's get back to the conversation. I'll see you online. And another area in which a lot of us struggle with, and some of us have no problem at all, but I'm speaking to the ones who are struggling, comes to do with your prices, okay? My thing to you is don't lower your price or your piece to keep a client. That's where you draw the line in the sand, because you have to first know your value, and then you have to teach to your clients how to honor your value. You deliver the service, deliver the value. And when you have done that, guess what? It's time to pay the piper. Don't lower your prices to appease your clients. The third dimension of alignment is your purpose alignment. A lot of times we get what we feel is burnout, but it has everything to do with being misaligned, is because we forget our purpose. We forget our why. Why did we get into this industry? And be very honest about that. Our purpose alignment. Why did we get into this industry? When you remember that, you're not just doing hair, but you're helping women to see themselves again in a whole new different light, in an elevated light. Remember that purpose, and it will bring you back. It will draw you back into being aligned based upon your purpose. The fourth one is relational alignment. When you're honest and real in your relationships. Listen, however you're dealing with that on the outside, you bring that back into the salon when you're dealing with your client. Because with our clients, it should not be just transactional. It can't be. It has to also be relational, because it's a transference of energy when it's relational. When you're honest and real in your relationships, no fake smile, no walking on eggshells. No, you should be able to have open, honest communication with your client. That's how you build long-lasting relationships and service. Remember that. And the last one is environmental alignment. How you feel in your space. What what do you welcome your clients into? What type of environment do you welcome them into? Because when your workspace reflects your well-being, you enjoy going to that space. Your clients enjoy coming in that space. So I want you to look around your salon and see if it reflects what you want your environmental alignment to be. If your salon energy feels off, then it's time to shift that a little bit. It's time to shift the space or replace the space. But sometimes just little things make a difference. Sometimes fresh flowers make a difference. Sometimes your choice of background music makes a difference. Sometimes, believe it or not, it makes a difference whether you got the TV on and the TV off and what you're watching on TV. So it's just little things that you can tweak to make a difference in your environmental alignment. And I want you to take a look at the list and what you wrote or what you thought. And then I want you to think about which of these alignment areas feels the strongest to you. And then I want you to eliminate or change things that's not working for you. And I guarantee you it will make a difference. It will make a difference in how you feel. So the next thing is this. I alluded to it earlier, what I call a mirror check. Because the mirror helps you to spot your misalignment. Sometimes we can't see things with our eyes, and so we allow a client to look in that mirror so she can see the back, the side, and the front view of her hairstyle. And so sometimes because that way we're able to catch things that the naked eye can't see. So I want you to do a mirror check on yourself as a stylist. I want you to listen to the words that you say. I want you to feel what your body is telling you. Sometimes misalignment sounds like this. I'm exhausted. That can be a sign of misalignment. If that's you, put yes, that's me in the comment. Sometimes it can look like, where you say it and you feel it. I am over it. Sometimes it could even be like you look at your book and you have a full book, but instead of being grateful, you feel like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I'm going to service all these people. And sometimes it feels like I don't feel appreciated. Those words, that feeling, you feel like you're pouring into your client, but you're not getting anything back from them. Sometimes it looks like us just being honest with ourselves as stylists, understanding that we are not AI, we are not artificial intelligence, and we are not a machine, that we are humans with human emotions, human feelings. And sometimes we've got to be okay with setting boundaries. And not just setting the boundary, but sticking to the boundary and relaying that boundary to our clients. But underneath all that of what misalignment looks like, the truth of the matter is we have to be truthful with ourselves. What it's all saying is this, is that I've been ignoring my truth. I've been ignoring myself. So maybe you're saying yes when you really want to say no has finally caught up with you. Maybe you're staying in a place where you have truly outgrown. And sometimes it's not a physical space that you've outgrown. Sometimes it's a mental space that you've outgrown. And you need to address that. Or maybe it's just you're pouring into clients, like I said earlier, who's not pouring back. And you've got to figure out a way to shift that. And it's not easy, but it certainly can be done. by reading a book, through meditation, through getting mentorship, through getting coaching, to talking to a trusted friend, and to even having a conversation with your clients. You'd be surprised how sometimes they just don't know. And if they knew, then they would do better. They would do differently. Because it's not about blaming anyone. It's not about blame, but it's about being awareness. It's about developing and building your awareness. And once you are aware, then accept the responsibility of sharing that awareness out. Because it's really about growth. It's not about blame, but it's about fixing the areas where you can. Do you agree with me? You get what I'm saying? It's about fixing the areas where you can. So, how do you do it? It's about one decision at a time. That's all realignment is. It's about awareness, and it's about making the decision to fix it one step, one small, brave step and decision at a time. And you know, it comes about asking yourself. Sometimes you got to get quiet, get in your quiet space and ask yourself a few questions. Number one, what would make my work feel sacred again, feel purposeful again? Ask yourself that question. What would make it? You know, you have the answer. The answer lives within you. You just have to take the time and ask yourself the question. Another thing you can ask is, what am I no longer available for? Lord, I know y'all saying, ooh, this sounds kind of deep. Well, it is, because it's about you, about your health, your wellness, your well-being. You got to take charge. You know, you gotta get in position. You got to get in position, because, hey, we're going into a whole nother year. In a couple of months, we're going to be in a whole nother year. And you can't go into 2026 the way you rolling in 2025. So ask yourself this question: what am I no longer available for? Only you know. What needs to shift? What needs to shift for you to breathe again? You know, for you to be back in alignment again, for you to be your lively, beautiful, wonderful self again. What has to shift? You know, maybe you have to cut back your hours. Maybe you have to change your days. Maybe you have to rebrand your service. It could be a number of things. Maybe it's saying yes to something new, or just realigning your energy. Take the time to sit and think about what is going to be required for you to get back into alignment. That is the bottom line, because the truth is, alignment changes everything, y'all. I'm not talking about what somebody told me. I'm talking about what I know. Alignment changes everything. When you're aligned, y'all, you attract clients that match your energy, that match your peace. That's what it does. You work from overflow instead of obligation. I mean, it just changes everything. And you fall in love with your craft again. How many of you want to know what it's like? It's like, it's like when I found Christ, man. Sometimes we got to go back to where he found us. Sometimes you got to go back to the state of mind you were in when you first decided, I want to be a professional licensed cosmetologist. Sometimes that is what is required. So this is your reflection for the week. You ready for it? Write it down. If my work behind the chair matched the woman I'm becoming, what would it look like? I really want you to answer that question. First, answer it without thought, and then answer it going deeper into thought. And that's where you want to find yourself, in the middle of what you initially said and what you said after giving it much thought. That would be a great place to start, right somewhere in the middle. somewhere in the middle. Let that be the guide to your next decision. Okay? We want to make this thing easy. Just go ahead and make it easy for yourself. And if this episode spoke to you, or you thought of, or this ain't you, because you're perfect, but you thought of another stylist that you know, then share it out and be sure to like the episode if you like it, and then subscribe, because that helps me. That helps me. And the more I can help you, because I feel helped, that excites me. So help a sister out. Like, subscribe, and share it out. And I'll keep it coming to you. Okay? And remember, transformation is an inside job. And be sure to protect your edges. I'll talk with you soon. Okay? Bye. Mwah.